Welcome to the Audiobook Chamber. Today, we enter one of the most enduring works on strategy, discipline, and human behavior, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Though written over 2,500 years ago, its wisdom reaches far beyond the battlefield. It speaks to leadership, decision-making, conflict, deception, and the inner wars we fight within ourselves. This is a journey into clarity, perception, and controlled power, where victory doesn't come from force, but from understanding. Let us begin, because true wealth and true mastery begins in the mind. Sun Tzu teaches that the foundation of all strategy is awareness. To know yourself, your strengths and weaknesses, your temperament, your habits, your limits, is to remove uncertainty from within. To know the enemy, the situation, the terrain, the forces at play, is to remove uncertainty from without. When both are understood, fear dissolves into clarity. Most people rush into conflict unprepared. They react emotionally, misjudge their position, and confuse movement with progress. The wise do the opposite. They observe first. They study patterns. They measure risks. Long before the battle begins, they have already shaped its outcome. Self-knowledge is not introspection for its own sake. It is strategic positioning. Awareness allows restraint. Restraint creates choice. And choice is power. Whether facing competition, negotiation, or personal struggle, the principle remains timeless. When you understand yourself and the forces before you, success becomes less about luck and more about alignment. Victory is no longer forced, it unfolds. True mastery avoids unnecessary conflict. Sun Tzu teaches that the highest form of victory is not achieved through force, but through foresight. To win without fighting is to conserve strength, preserve resources, and maintain control. It is strategy at its most refined. War is expensive, not only in cost, but in uncertainty. Once conflict begins, outcomes become volatile and losses unavoidable. The wise strategist therefore shapes conditions early, aligning incentives, controlling terrain, influencing perception, and dissolving resistance before it hardens into opposition. Power, in this sense, is subtle. It operates quietly, upstream of confrontation. In life, business, and leadership, the same principle applies. The most effective moves are made before emotions flare, before positions calcify, before force becomes the only option. Those who rely on strength must keep proving it. Those who rely on strategy rarely need to. The strongest victories leave no scars, only stability. Sun Tzu reminds us that raw power is rarely decisive. Strength can intimidate, but it also exhausts. Strategy, by contrast, multiplies effort. A smaller force, when positioned wisely and guided by clear intent, can overcome a much larger one that relies only on brute force. The principle reaches far beyond the battlefield. In work, in leadership, and in life, effort alone is not the advantage people think it is. Process outperforms intensity. Preparation defeats improvisation. A clear plan, patiently executed, will always outlast unfocused exertion. Many exhaust themselves by pushing harder instead of thinking deeper, fighting uphill battles they never needed to enter. Strategy reallocates energy toward leverage, timing, and advantage. It chooses where and when to act, not just how much to give. Strength fades. Strategy compounds. And those who master leverage rarely need to rely on force at all. Rigid plans fracture under pressure. Sun Tzu teaches that true strength lies in flexibility, in the ability to respond rather than resist. He compares the wise strategist to water, formless, responsive, and unstoppable. Water does not argue with the terrain. It adjusts, flows around obstacles, and quietly finds the path of advantage. In strategy, rigidity invites defeat. Conditions change. Opponents evolve. Circumstances disrupt even the best-laid plans. Those who cling to fixed tactics lose relevance the moment reality shifts. Those who adapt remain effective. Adaptability is not weakness, it is intelligence in motion. It turns uncertainty into leverage and chaos into opportunity. By remaining fluid, you conserve energy, exploit timing, and act when others hesitate. The most resilient leaders do not force outcomes. They shape themselves to the moment, and in doing so, they endure. Victory is shaped not only by strategy, but by context. Sun Tzu teaches that understanding the terrain, the environment in which action unfolds, is as important as understanding the enemy. Terrain includes geography, timing, resources, morale, and constraints. Ignore it, and even the strongest plan collapses. The wise commander studies the landscape before acting. Where are the bottlenecks that restrict movement? Where is the high ground that offers leverage? Where are the hidden traps that drain strength? These questions determine not just how to fight, but whether to fight at all. In modern life, terrain takes subtler forms: markets, social dynamics, workplace politics, competitive pressure, or personal limitations. Mastery means knowing where effort compounds and where it is wasted. Success is rarely about effort alone. It is about position, timing, and choosing battles that can actually be won. All warfare is based on deception, Sun Tzu writes, not as an endorsement of dishonesty, but as an understanding of human psychology. Outcomes are shaped not only by reality, but by perception, and perception guides behavior. When you appear weaker than you are, you invite overconfidence. When you appear stronger than you are, you create hesitation. In both cases, the opponent reacts not to truth, but to what they believe they see. Strategy, then, is often the art of shaping expectations before action begins. In modern life, this plays out through signaling, in negotiations, leadership, markets, and competition. The messages you send, intentionally or not, influence how others position themselves. Confidence, restraint, timing, and silence all communicate power. Deception here is not manipulation for its own sake. It is clarity about the psychological landscape. Victory often belongs to those who understand perception and act with deliberate subtlety. Sun Tzu teaches that outcomes are decided less by size or strength and more by when action is taken. A strike that comes too late loses momentum. One that comes too early exposes weakness. Timing, not force, determines advantage. Speed is often misunderstood as haste. In Sun Tzu's wisdom, speed is the clean execution of a plan that has already been thought through. Preparation creates readiness. Readiness allows swift movement without chaos. Timing is a form of intelligence. It is the ability to sense shifts in energy, to recognize when conditions align, when resistance softens, and when opportunity briefly opens. The strategist waits patiently, not from fear, but from awareness. In life, business, and conflict, constant action is rarely the answer. Decisive action at the right moment is. Those who master timing shape the field before others even realize the game has begun. Sun Tzu teaches that the greatest leaders do not rule through noise, fear, or intimidation. They lead through presence, through steadiness, through a calm that holds when pressure rises. A commander's inner state becomes the army's outer condition. When a leader is reactive, uncertain, or emotional, confusion spreads. Discipline weakens. Morale fractures. But when a leader remains composed, fair in judgment, consistent in action, grounded in purpose, trust takes root. Calm is not passivity. It is control. It allows clear thinking when others panic, patience when others rush, and precision when chaos tempts rash decisions. A calm leader creates psychological safety, aligning people toward a shared objective without force. True authority is quiet. It stabilizes rather than agitates. It inspires confidence not through volume, but through reliability. In Sun Tzu's world, and in ours, the calm mind does not avoid the storm. It commands it. Sun Tzu understood that victory is not decided by numbers alone, but by spirit. An army with strong morale can endure fatigue, adapt under pressure, and press forward when circumstances turn against it. An army without morale, no matter how well equipped, fractures at the first sign of adversity. Morale is the invisible force that multiplies strength. It sharpens focus, sustains discipline, and transforms hardship into shared resolve. Soldiers who believe in their leader and their cause move with unity. Those who do not hesitate, and hesitation is costly. In modern life, morale reveals itself as culture, motivation, and meaning. Teams thrive when people feel valued, aligned, and purposeful. They wither when effort feels empty or unseen. Strategy may define the path, but morale determines whether anyone walks it. Sun Tzu's lesson is clear. Guard morale as carefully as resources, because when belief collapses, no strategy can save the fight. The final lesson of the art of war is not about combat, but about foresight. Sun Tzu teaches that true victory is secured before conflict ever begins, through preparation, positioning, and disciplined awareness. The wise do not rush into struggle hoping to prevail. They shape conditions so that prevailing becomes inevitable. Battles are rarely decided in the moment. They are the visible outcomes of invisible choices made long before pressure arrives. Planning, intelligence, morale, timing, and self-mastery quietly determine the result. To win first is to remove uncertainty in advance, to understand yourself, read the terrain, anticipate resistance, and choose the moment when advantage is already on your side. When this work is done, confrontation loses its danger. The battle then becomes a formality, the final page of a story written in preparation, not in chaos. The art of war is not a guide to destruction, but a philosophy of clarity, restraint, and intelligent action. Sun Tzu reminds us that every conflict begins in the mind long before it appears in the world. Victory is rarely the product of brute strength. It is the outcome of awareness, preparation, and calm judgment. The book teaches that the most powerful wins require the least force. By understanding oneself, reading the environment, and anticipating change, one can shape outcomes without being consumed by struggle. Adaptability replaces rigidity. Foresight replaces reaction. Sun Tzu's wisdom extends far beyond the battlefield. It applies